Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I am Graham Jesus Matthews. In today's video, we're breaking down the 2000 WWE SummerSlam pay-per-view event as seen on the WWE Network. Now, as I said in hashtag AskGSM yesterday, I had my wisdom teeth removed on Thursday of last week, and I'm still feeling the after effects. The recovery process has been pretty long in that my mouth is still, swollen. Not a lot. I mean, it was kind of swollen when I filmed the video yesterday. Not as much as it was a couple days ago. But the point I'm trying to make is that my speech sounds slurred. It's not because it's not because I'm hungover or I'm drinking or anything like that. I just want to apologize in advance. I mean, maybe I was. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's the reason why I might sound a little off in this episode. Just want to put that out there. But yeah, this was a great show. I really enjoyed watching this pay-per-view. I watched half of it last week and watched the rest of it over the weekend. Like I said, the whole weekend has been a blur. I've just been in so much pain. I just couldn't really sit through the pay-per-view to watch it. Not because it was bad, but just because I couldn't pay attention. I was tired, whatever. So my memory might be a little foggy on the first few matches, but I didn't watch it like months ago, like I watched for the WrestleManias a couple months ago. This one I only watched it, a little less than a week ago, so it's not that long ago. But still, this was a great show. I think 2000, in my opinion, wasn't like an amazing year, but I thought it was one of the more underrated years of the Attitude Era. I know Stone Cold was out during a majority of the year, of course, but that allowed The Rock, Triple H, and to an extent, Kurt Angle kind of take the ball and run with it. Like, they ran with it. They had a number of great matches and an amazing series of contests over the course of that year of 2000. And it's weird, too, because WrestleMania 2000, that year's WrestleMania event, I wasn't too fond of, as I'm sure a lot of people weren't as well. It was just a massive clusterfuck. No singles matches. Just all four-ways and six-man tags and craziness, all these stipulations. And that one TLC or three-way ladder match, as it was called at that time, was the mere highlight of that show for me. Everything else was a total disappointment. But it's weird because I love this show a lot as compared to, this was a vast improvement over WrestleMania from that year, SummerSlam 2000. And the crowd, too, was also very energetic, which I know was not that big of a surprise considering it was during the Attitude Era when the audience was just in general a lot more livelier than it is today. Just a lot livelier than it is today. But it didn't take place in New York or Chicago or Canada or over in the UK or anything like that. So it's not like we had a wrestling purist crowd. It took place in Raleigh, North Carolina. So it wasn't like a red hot rabid crowd, but for a North Carolina crowd, it was really good. No disrespect to my peeps over in North Carolina, but still, it was a great crowd for a great show. So kicking off the event, we had Right to Censor taking on Too Cool, Scotty 2 Hotty, Grandmaster Sexay, and Rikishi in six-man tag team action. Kind of a fine for what it was match, fun for what it was too. The Right to Censor I hated, but in a good way, not in like an R-Truth kind of way, like a go-away heat for me. I mean, like in a way, their theme song was so annoying, the sirens, not Scott Steiner. I love Scott Steiner's theme, or Cesaro's, which has kind of grown on me. The Right to Censor theme, just obnoxious. They'd come out, and it was terrible. I hated them when I would watch WrestleMania 17 back in the network. Hated those guys. They were perfect heels. And they ended up winning this matchup too. So it was a fine little opener, nothing too special, but the Right to Censor was what kind of stuck out to me. Those guys, I don't know if they got go-away heat. I mean, of course, I was not even close to being a fan by that point. I didn't get into the product until 2008. That was when I started watching wrestling full time. But maybe they did. But just for me, though, they were perfect heels because I couldn't help but boo them. They were just, I hated them so much when watching these pay-per-views back, including this one. But Right to Censor would go over here. Not a great match, but it kind of served its purpose in kicking off the show. And a nice little note. Up next, we had X-Pac versus Road Dogg. Now, this match had a little bit more of a story to it. X-Pac and Road Dogg, I believe at this point, were still a part of the reformed version of the D-Generation X, of the D-Generation X stable. And I believe they were still allies at this point. Had a decent match. X-Pac, in the end, would cheat to win, picking up the victory. And you say, oh, no, it's so cool. We're still cool, Road Dogg. It's all good. I win a match. It's okay. I just kind of prove him the better man. That's all. Road Dogg got pissed. The crowd goes crazy as he turns on X-Pac, and that was about it. So the match wasn't anything great, but it at least had some storyline significance, cementing the turn of Road Dogg from X-Pac. So it did kind of wasn't a throwaway match. It did serve some sort of a purpose. Although the match wasn't anything amazing, they did tell a story, and that's what I do appreciate. So I like that little turn of events as well, kind of boding for the future, kind of planting seeds for the future of Road Dogg and X-Pac as it would turn into a rivalry between the two going forward. Up next, we have an intergender tag team match for the Intercontinental Championship. Val Venus, who was the then Intercontinental Champion, teamed with Trish Stratus to take on Eddie Guerrero and Chyna. So a good match for what it was. I mean, none of these matches were like wrestling masterpieces, or I shouldn't say none of them. There were a few of them that were actually really, really entertaining from an in-ring standpoint. It was more the characters involved for a majority of the matches on this show that made them worth watching for me. With this match, Chyna and Eddie, which I've talked about here before on the show, were a really entertaining, a really fun duo. Those two had perfect chemistry with one another, and that really shined in this matchup as well. Val Venus was, after shaving his head and getting a haircut, was the guy that everyone wanted to boo. No more of the sex symbol shit. People just hated the guy, and Trish Stratus was kind of the eye candy to his act. So it was a good little match, and you have Eddie Guerrero in a match. It's going to be good from a wrestling standpoint. Val Venus was actually a pretty underrated worker. Not that he was never great, but he was decent enough in the ring where he could hold his own, and Trish Stratus was kind of coming onto her own at this point as well. And Chyna was Chyna, just the attraction that she was, both figuratively and literally at that point in time. So a good match, and in the end, Chyna would pick up the win and win the Intercontinental Championship. So not Eddie Guerrero, it was Chyna who I believe would win the, when I say I believe, I mean whether it be her first or second. I don't remember what reign it was for her. I know she had multiple reigns as the Intercontinental Champion, but she would win the Intercontinental Championship on this night in her tag team victory over Val Venus and Trish Stratus. So again, a fun little matchup with a shocking ending of Chyna winning the IC title. So a cool little ending there. Up next, we had Jerry Lawler versus Taz. And Taz, for weeks on end, would just kind of bust the balls of Jerry Lawler on commentary. Also kind of bully Jim Ross as well. And it would Jerry Lawler would not come out of retirement. He was never really technically retired. But Taz, who didn't really do much for the most of the year of 2000, he kind of came in with a bang at the Royal Rumble that year and really didn't do much for most of that year, or for the rest of his WWE career as a wrestler for that matter. But still, he would bust the balls of Jerry Lawler for weeks, and of course, logically, Jerry Lawler would snap and turn on Taz, or just kind of snap at him and beat the shit out of him, leading to a match at SummerSlam. So the match was nothing too special. It was, fine for what it was. Jerry Lawler in a Taz match doesn't really excite me too much, but people were red hot. Even though Jerry Lawler was a heel commentator, people were hot to see him finally get his hands on Taz and finally give him his comeuppance, which he would in this matchup. Taz at one point had Jerry Lawler in the Taz mission, but with some help from Jim Ross at commentary, he came off of commentary, took some sort of bottle. I had to replay it, and I couldn't really make out what it was. I believe it was some beer bottle or something glass, and he smashed it over the head of Jerry Lawler, allowing him to capitalize and pick up the victory. So Taz would eat his words, eat crow on this night as Jerry Lawler would emerge victorious, with some help from Jim Ross, kind of allowing him to get involved and get his kind of vengeance as well. Up next, we had a hardcore match for the Hardcore Championship. The famous match between Steve Blackman and Shane McMahon. Now, I've seen this match before. I watched it on the top 50 WWE OMG moments of all time. And, of course, known for the crazy fall of Shane McMahon from the top of the Titantron, or the side of the Titantron, rather, falling, 50 feet, whatever it might be. Oh, my God, it was nuts. After Steve Blackman whacked him in the back with a Singapore King, he falls all the way back and all the way down to the ground. It's fucking nuts. And if you've never seen it, you're not a wrestling fan. No, I'm just kidding. But you have to see this if you haven't already. It's absolutely insane. And the match is fun for what it was. It was only 10 minutes long. The match itself really wasn't all that memorable. It was good. Like, they did a really good job with it. And Shane McMahon, running away with the Hardcore Championship, that was kind of the thing. And I mean, going into this match, he was kind of like the pest heel champion, and Steve Blackman wanted to beat the shit out of him for that championship, and they suspended the 24/7 rule, I believe it was, or Mick Foley did as the commissioner, and Steve Blackman just gave it to him, just destroying the entire matchup. Shane McMahon tried to run away. He ran all the way up. Steve Blackman went after him. He kind of moved to the side as Shane... It's hard to explain, but Shane McMahon was directly hanging on the side of the Titantron, or the stage, or the set, whatever. And so was Steve, but he kind of turned to the side a little bit, so when Shane fell, he didn't fall on top of him. But he whacks him in the back with a Singapore King. He falls all the way down, and then to make matters even worse for Shane, as if he wasn't already dead from that fall, Steve jumps all the way down to the flying elbow and obviously gets the 1-2-3 for the win. It was an insane spot. The place went crazy. The story throughout the night was whether Shane could get back up. Was he alive? It's nuts. And you think the Mankind Mick Foley thing is the craziest fall of all time. It's up for debate which one was crazier. I mean, this one, Foley didn't. I mean, and Shane didn't go through any tables. I believe he just fell through. He might have fell on a mat. I don't remember exactly. I don't know if you get the exact camera shot, but you can debate for yourself which one was crazier. But when Jim Ross said that this was shades of that moment, it absolutely was, and I give Shane all the credit in the world. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, and I believe Shane, for a guy that wasn't even a full-time wrestler. This is a guy that was more so a better athlete than he was a wrestler, but he would go out there and put his body on the line. The same guy who I watched on the King of the Ring DVD, the best of King of the Ring, and they highlighted his match with Kurt Angle from King of the Ring, I believe that same year, or maybe the next year, I think in 2001, when he got suplexed through the glass panels like 3 times. It was nuts. Oh man, just a crazy fall. And like I said, Steve Blackman emerges victorious as the hardcore champion, but not nearly the most newsworthy part about this. Of course, that was Shane McMahon nearly getting killed from falling off the top of the stage. Up next, we had Chris Benoit taking on Chris Jericho in a 2 out of 3 falls match. No titles on the line. I've always enjoyed the series of matches these two put together. I believe it might have been that same year where they had as many matches as they did at Backlash and then again at Judgment Day. It might have been that year where they had like a series of matches throughout the year of 2000. And this was another great match. I mean, I wish they would have gotten more time. The first 2 falls weren't really given enough time to kind of digest. They were over pretty quickly. The third fall was pretty good, though. They were given some time to go out there and work the match they're capable of. In the end, it was Jericho, or Benoit rather, who would get his feet on the ropes and emerge victorious to pick up the win, the third and final fall to win the entire match. The third fall and the match in the whole. But yeah, it was a really good match, though. It was a stipulation that was perfectly fitting of the two styles of the both guys. But as I mentioned, this was kind of a common theme throughout the night. Not nearly as big of an issue as it was with past SummerSlam shows, where some of these matches could have benefited from more time. The hardcore title match, this match, the main event, Undertaker and Kane, especially, and a few other matches on the show, especially the tag team title match, which I'll get to shortly. But still, a really, really good match, a great wrestling match. Could have used more time. That was my only gripe with it. Benoit emerged victorious. Jericho is protected in defeat after Benoit cheats. And that's it. So a really good match, and probably my favorite match of those two from the entire year of 2000. Maybe I take that back. I don't know. They had a lot of good matches. Earlier on that year, the Ultimate Submission match, I think it was. It might have been with Angle and Benoit. That might have been the year after. I don't remember. But one of the matches that Jericho and Benoit had, it might have been a Backlash, was really, really good. I can't say which one was better, but this continued this strong streak of great matches from the two wrestling experts, from the two wrestling mat classic technicians, I guess is one way to put it. After that, we had another classic contest, the Triple Threat TLC Tag Team Title Ladder Match between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys. Another awesome installment in this great series of matches. Love the match at WrestleMania 2000. Love the match they had at WrestleMania 17. Of course, this was sandwiched in between. And I'm pretty sure I've seen it before. I've never seen the show in its entirety, of course, before watching it on the WWE Network just recently. But I'm pretty sure I've seen this match on the Ladder Match DVD that was released way back when. John has a copy, or at least had a copy at one point. We watched it over his house a while ago. So if I have seen this match before, it's been a very long time. And you're probably asking why you haven't seen this match before then or before now, other than that one instance where I may have watched it in that one DVD. I have no idea. But I'm glad I did. Great match. I mean, there's really nothing much more to say other than that. These three teams have such tremendous chemistry together. It's pretty much impossible for them to have a bad match whenever they're sharing the same ring. And this was no exception. Love the match. A lot of crazy spots. The first official TLC match of its kind. So we will be coming up on the first official 15th anniversary of the TLC match on the 27th of August, so only a couple days removed from this year's SummerSlam event, which I will be in attendance for, by the way, if I haven't already mentioned that a million times before. But yeah, great match. Was it the highlight of the show for me? Maybe. That's a good question. Was it the best match in the show? I'll address that at the end. I mean, I don't want to get into that right now because It could be, it could not be. It may not be, that is. But still an amazing match that you don't want to miss out on when you watch this pay-per-view back. So great stuff all around. It seemed like the Hardy Boys, this was their moment. I'm so surprised that, watching it back and kind of thinking back on the rivalry that these three teams had from 2000 to 2001, that in the three matches they had at WrestleMania 2000 on this event and at WrestleMania 17, not one time did the Hardy Boys win, or the Dudley Boys for that matter. In those three matches, Edge and Christian won every single time, which put them over huge. And the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys were already over and they were already established. It didn't really matter. But if there was any place to put the titles on the Hardy Boys, it was on this show in their hometown, in their home state of North Carolina. It's crazy. This would have been, I probably would have put the titles on the Hardy Boys on this pay-per-view. I'm sure they probably gave them the titles right after this anyway. But it would have been cool to see them win the titles in their hometown and get a monster reaction. They still got a monster reaction anyway. Edge and Christian weren't, there was really no wrong answer. You could have had any one of these three teams to go over and it wouldn't have mattered. It still would have made for an epic moment. But personally, while I wanted to see the Hardys go over, it was still cool to see Edge and Christian go 2-0 in their ladder/TLC matches against the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys in triple threat tag team action. So after that, we had the Cat taking on Terry in a stink face match, which was exactly what it was. It was exactly what it sounds like it was, a stink face match, where the winner had to get, in order to win, you had to execute a stink face on your opponent. Interpret that as you want to. Interpret that as you may. But thankfully, it was kept short and sweet. The Cat went over. She won the match after hitting the stink face on Terry. And that was it. So thankfully, 15 years later, we are far removed from that state of women's wrestling. I mean, I'm glad women were getting a reaction back then, but I'd rather see them, fall on deaf ears in 2015 after having a great match than doing something childish and immature as this and having the males eat it up. It was great for all male viewers. I'm not complaining, myself included. But I'm so glad we have girls like Charlotte and Sasha and Paige and Becky Lynch and all the other women right now in NXT and on the main roster, Bayley. So we don't have to be subjected to the women being just completely ridiculed on these shows anymore. But that was what it was. After that, we had The Undertaker versus Kane. I completely forgot about this match. I didn't even know this match happened, to be honest with you. It's not even that I forgot. I just never even knew it existed. I knew of their feuds in 2004. And, of course, throughout the entire Attitude Era in 97 and 98 and 99, of course. But never on this show. I thought they were kind of past that point where they were where Undertaker and Kane were feuding. But I guess it was never really, I guess it really was a never-ending feud throughout the Attitude Era, including this pay-per-view. The match wasn't really all that good at all. The match only went 6 minutes. They weren't given any time. It wasn't much storyline significance. It was just kind of one massive brawl, which was what they were kind of known for. Their matches were kind of what their matches tended to be more often than not were brawls between Undertaker and Kane. And their, moreover was that there wasn't really a true finish to the match. It kind of ended when Undertaker ripped off the mask of Kane. He ran off, and that was it. It wasn't as if it was a no disqualification match where he could do something like that. There were countouts in play, but Undertaker, in ripping off the mask, Kane ran away. The referee didn't count or anything like that. It just kind of ended. That was it. Undertaker's music played, and we moved right along. So that was kind of, I hate to say it was the worst match on the show, and it kind of was. It was nice at spots. They went all out. It was a cool little brawl, not nearly on the level as the brawl that we saw last week between Brock Lesnar and Undertaker, mind you. But still, it was something. It just kind of lack of finish. I guess Undertaker and the lack of finishes to his matches, or that he gets involved in, I guess, or just it goes back far beyond Battleground last Sunday. It kind of dates back all the way back to this pay-per-view, SummerSlam 2000, Undertaker versus Kane, ending in a no contest, randomly enough. So that was odd, but the match was what it was. Not terrible, I was just kind of a little disappointed we weren't able to get a true finish. And you didn't see Kane's face anyway. He covered his face, so this wasn't the first unmasking of Kane in WWE. So we get to the main event, the triple threat match for the WWE Championship. The Rock, Kurt Angle, and Triple H for the WWE title, and a great match. This is another match that I wouldn't have minded it going another couple more minutes, kind of exceeding the 20-minute mark. But this was awesome. I mean, this was so much better than the triple threat we saw at the SummerSlam 1999 show between Stone Cold, Triple H, and Mankind, which was good, but it kind of fell flat for me. It didn't really live up to the lofty expectations of being the great match that it could have been. It was just very sloppy, just a lot of weird spots and weird places, and it didn't really flow at all. This match was exactly that. It flew very, very well. And they had a great flow to it. All three guys have awesome chemistry with one another, as I mentioned multiple times in this review. And then the 2000 was the year of great chemistry. You had these long, never-ending rivalries, for the better, not for the worse, I'm not complaining, between Benoit and Jericho, the tag teams with Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys, and then Rock and Triple H, and as I mentioned earlier, you kind of mix in Kurt Angle. So, thrown into this WWE title mix, throughout the night we had all these various backstage segments with Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon. Kurt Angle at this period in time was hitting on Stephanie, although she was already the storyline wife of Triple H. So that kind of played a factor in this match as well. Stephanie would get involved. She would get knocked out by Triple H at one point. I believe it was Triple H, and she would get knocked out. Kurt Angle got knocked out. He got carted to the back, and Stephanie said, "You got to do it for me. You got to help Hunter or win the title, whatever." That kind of motivated him. He went back out to the ring. But in the end, though, it was The Rock who successfully retained his WWE title on this show by winning the match. I forgot who he pinned, but he would come out of this thing victorious. And a great match, never a dull moment. The crowd was eating it up all the way. There wouldn't have been a bad winner. There wouldn't have been a bad choice for the winner of this contest because all three guys were on fire. And this was the year of Kurt Angle, Triple H, and The Rock. I mean, you go back to Survivor Series 99, which I did a review for. I'm pretty sure I reviewed Royal Rumble 2000 as well. And, of course, WrestleMania 2000. The ascension of Kurt Angle to superstardom in WWE is unreal. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. The guy deserved every ounce of success he had in the company, and as well as his, rise to fame and as quickly as he got up to the main event. But in 9 months' time, he went from debuting at Survivor Series against nobody to winning the Intercontinental title, the European title, winning both titles at the same time, holding them at the same time, winning King of the Ring, and then main eventing SummerSlam for the WWE title. Granted, he would not emerge victorious, but still he had a great showing here and against The Rock, and The Rock would come out victorious, still the WWE champion. But it was amazing. The guy you would have never guessed debuted a year earlier on this show because he was so over. People already loved him as it was, and an amazing athlete. You don't need me to tell you that. But just great stuff all around and an awesome way to go off the show. So on the whole, probably one of, if not my favorite SummerSlam to date. We had the 92 show in England, which was very, very good. Really loved that show. What was the other show that I thoroughly enjoyed? I'm pretty sure it was the 98 show, I want to say. 96 was okay. 97 was okay. The Attitude Era shows, and I mentioned this in a past review, it's weird because the WrestleManias weren't good at all, for the most part. I mean, maybe some people will disagree with that. I'm sure people will disagree with that. But WrestleMania 13, 14, 15, 16 for me were not nearly as being close as the great of all time. You can say the same thing for you could say that WrestleMania 17 was the greatest of all time or one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. That was kind of ironically the end of the Attitude Era, but the WrestleManias that took place during the Attitude Era were 13, 14, 15, and 16 or 2000, whatever. And I just didn't enjoy any of those. I thought they were all clusterfucks. They weren't that great as opposed to previous WrestleManias or the WrestleManias that were to come, including 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. That whole stretch of WrestleManias was phenomenal. But still, it's crazy. This WrestleMania superseded expectations after WrestleMania 2000 wasn't really all that good. This show is a vast improvement over WrestleMania from that year, and I love the show from top to bottom. And as to mention, I forgot what the other great SummerSlam show was. I already forgot. I'm pretty sure it was SummerSlam 98. But that show, SummerSlam 92, and this is one of my favorites so far that I've seen on the network, not including like 2008 or 2011, also my favorite SummerSlam shows. This is only up to this point that I've had a review here for the channel. I've already reviewed 08 and 2011, but you know what I mean. From 88 to 2000, those three are my favorite, and this would probably have to top the list. This was a really fun show. Every single match had something. Every single match wasn't, something random. They all made sense. They were all very well wrestled for the most part. Had a lot of intricate and entertaining and characters that you can invest in. Matches that you could care about. And that's all I really ask for with a great story in wrestling and WWE. That's exactly what the show delivered. And to boot, an awesome night for in-ring act. We had that awesome. I've used that word so many times already in this review, and I'll continue to do so. That's exactly what the show was. The incredible triple threat tag team title match with Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, the first ever TLC match in history. That match, it's hard to say. I'd probably have to go with that as the match of the night, if not the main event, which was also great, between Rock, Angle, and H, another triple threat match with the WWE title. And then Benoit and Jericho, also a really, really good wrestling match for what it was. And I also forgot to mention the video package that aired promoting that match with the weird visuals of Benoit riding a goat and then wearing a dunce cap and then wearing a wedding gown. All this weird stuff. I guess Jericho had done some sort of a rhyme or a promo where he was rhyming and making a fairy tale out of his problems with Benoit, and just kind of mocking him. It was kind of strange. I put up the pictures of it on Twitter, some screenshots that I took of the feud. It was fairly odd, but still, that was a great match too. And the undercard definitely delivered. We had a lot of fun moments. The inclusion of JR in the Jerry Lawler Taz match. Oh my God, the phenomenal bump, the unforgettable bump that Shane McMahon took. Another highlight from the show. In the hardcore title match, X-Pac and Road Dogg people were into. The Intercontinental title change was newsworthy. We had a pretty nice opening match, a 6-man tag team match, and then the Divas match didn't really do anything for me. Undertaker and Kane would probably be the sole low point on the show, along with the women's thing, although people were eating that up. The Undertaker-Kane thing just was weird, I guess, for lack of a better term, but just kind of awkward. And like I mentioned, the sole low point on this show, everything else delivered, was entertaining and is well worth checking out on the WWE Network. So with that being said, thank you folks for checking out this review. I always appreciate it. If you want to, make sure to follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. Also, check out the website nextairwrestling.net for my full written reviews of Raw, SmackDown, Main Event Superstars, Impact Wrestling, NXT, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, and everything else in between. And of course, I will be back this Saturday with my review of SummerSlam 2001. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to review it for you lovely folks. Once again, guys, thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you on Saturday for my full review of SummerSlam 2001. Have a great week, folks.